What are the issues important to young voters? Paola Thomas hit the streets to speak with college students about what they want to see in the next president.
The 2016 presidential race is heating up and the candidates are throwing their names in the contest. Sunday, Hillary Clinton announced her bid for president, and Ted Cruz and Ron Paul have already entered the race. According to an analysis by the Center for Information and Research on Civic and Learning Engagement, 49% of people under 30 voted in the 2012 presidential elections. But what do the voters really want in the next president? Mariam Bosch recently became a U.S. citizen and will vote for the first time in the 2016 presidential election. Bosch says the next president should not be obligated to any political donors.
I mean, I wouldn't want any candidate that I would support to be consumed with repaying those debts and favors, that have been secured by the funders of their campaigns.
A big issue for Tyler Hooper is the high cost of a college education.
Why is the United States supposed to be it's like a free country, and yet we're paying the most to go to school? Countries across the world and schools across the world, you don't have to pay as much to go to university, which should be something that should be highly considered in the next political race.
As the candidates gear up for the race, voters will be paying close attention to the issues that will affect their lives. For District Wire News, I'm Paola Thomas.
Less than half of people under 30 years old voted in the last presidential election. Will 2016 see the same trend continue? Here to talk about the importance of the youth vote is Kobe Ice. Kobe is the communications director for the AU College Democrats. Thank you for coming in today, Kobe.
Well, thanks for hosting me. I appreciate it.
So, Kobe, can you give us a brief introduction of AU College Democrats and what do you do there?
So AU College Democrats is the largest student organization at American University. We have over 300 members, and we work to influence elections with Get Out the Vote efforts. We also work to engage our community through things like policy discussions, as well as hosting conferences and bringing the people in politics that really matter to students at American.
So Kobe, how do you prepare for the upcoming presidential election, and how do you as an organization go out to kind of encourage youth voting?
Yeah, so as a Democratic organization, our involvement does not really begin until we have a nominee, right? We don't endorse a primary candidate. And I think, we will do our best to organize with our local organizations to get out the vote amongst the youth population and explain why voting is important. But it really comes down to the candidates' efforts in appealing to our population. Barack Obama was three things that are important to young people. He was bold, he was articulate, he was energetic, and I think the next Democratic nominee has to have those three qualities. You've got to come directly to the door of college students and young people. It's not a big field on the Democratic side, but you do have people like Martin O'Malley and Bernie Sanders who are coming to American University to talk to students. I'd like to see that from Hillary Clinton as well.
A survey shows that 51% of young people aged 18 to 29 voted in 2008, but there were only 55% in 2012. Do you think there will be an increase in 2016? How will you and your organization help to change this situation?
Well, again, yeah, that's a good question, and I think it's going to depend upon who are the general election nominees. I think that, if Rand Paul is the nominee on the Republican side, sure, he'll have a big youth base behind him. I'm not sure Hillary Clinton will. I hope she does if she's the nominee. Certainly people like Martin O'Malley do have appeal to a younger audience. In terms of us changing the situation, we need to lobby our elected officials who are currently in office to make it easier for people in college to vote, right? We need more early voting. We need same-day registration on-site. We need longer voting hours. The absentee ballot process is incredibly bureaucratic and frustrating to people our ages. So we need to find ways to turn a group of people that might be apathetic into enthused people who want to engage in the political process.
So Hillary Clinton obviously announced her presidential candidacy this weekend. Huge news in the news cycle. Obviously, you said you don't endorse a candidate until you have one, but it's very much assumed that Hillary Clinton's going to get the Democratic nomination. So have you prepared any for potential Hillary Clinton ticket in 2016? And what do you think is potentially her biggest threat heading into the general election?
The general election. Well, let's say one thing first. Never say never about her getting the nominee. In 2007, every pundit in America said there's no way Hillary Clinton will not be the nominee in 2008. And Senator Barack Obama at the time kind of came forward and kind of got us all really excited about change and hope. I wouldn't rule out in a primary Martin O'Malley being that same figure. I think Bernie Sanders and someone like Jim Webb are the people who are going to run probably are going to have big bases of support, not nearly as big as Hillary Clinton, but I think Martin O'Malley could be that difference maker. Now, let's say Hillary's the nominee, which is, I still think, the most likely scenario. I think Jeb Bush is likely to be the nominee on the Republican side. I believe Professor Elving had said earlier. I do think Scott Walker has a good chance. In terms of who's most dangerous, it's generally not the person who has the best chance of winning the primary, right? The Obama team in 2012 thought Jon Huntsman was the most serious threat in a general election. There was no way Jon Huntsman was going to win the Republican nomination. Jeb Bush is willing to go towards the middle on a few key issues like education, the standards, Common Core, the environment, civil unions, that maybe some of his primary opponents are not willing to go towards the middle on, because he understands that you need to have a good general election platform, right? So I think Jeb Bush is probably the most serious threat to presumed Hillary Clinton nomination.
Hillary Clinton is heading to Iowa as her first trip. What do you think she will be focusing on during the primary season?
Sure. Yeah. After she made her rollout yesterday on YouTube, she, before, she didn't tell anyone, neither did anybody on her team, but she started on a road trip from New York to Iowa, where she's going to be kicking off her campaign in the coming weeks. And I think that is what she's focusing on, kind of making herself seem like that approachable, regular person who is really concerned about making the middle class mean something again, meeting the everyday people, and, really focusing on being that tenacious economic fighter.
Kobe, thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate having you.
Appreciate the time.
Kobe Ice from the AU College Democrat, as always. And that'll be it for us today. Thanks for watching. I'm Jordan Sharp.
I'm Amber Liu.